I've still got like my Bubba, my grandma's like some scarcity stuff flowing through me, and I'm like, what?
Mhm.
Like, I've done like plant medicine ceremonies over this. I'm like,
Get it
take
out.
it back. I don't want it. Take your shit.
Take it back.
And I accept you, but like, take it back.
Welcome to the Clear Skin Chronicles, the podcast that takes you on a journey to uncover the secrets of achieving glowing, acne-free skin. We believe that knowledge is power, and by understanding the root causes of acne, we can create a solid foundation for long-lasting clear skin. I'm Katie Stewart, registered holistic nutritionist and founder of the Clear Skin Solution, where we help women just like you get to the root cause of their acne.
And I'm Chris Brown, registered holistic nutritionist and program director inside the Clear Skin Solution. Through functional testing, we pinpoint where the body's system imbalances lie, so we can dive deep into the acne clearing journey.
We work virtually with clients to clear up their skin from the inside out and have helped thousands of women worldwide regain their confidence. I have been so looking forward to today's chat, like counting down the days excited, because if you don't know our next guest, you're going to absolutely fall in love with her. It is the lovely, lovely Rachel Molenda. She's a mindset coach, motivational speaker for women who want to cultivate the courage to do the damn thing and create the reality to do so. I absolutely love that tagline, to just have the courage to do the damn thing, because that's really what it's all about. And the reason I really align so much with you, Rachel, is because of that. You know, even though I'm doing acne, you're doing mindset coaching, it's really just giving the courage and the confidence. And, you know, I first came across you a few years ago through another colleague, and I knew you would be such a perfect fit to work with us in the Clear Skin Solution. And so we had you come in and have been doing the mindset coaching for our clients over there, and they've just fallen in love with you as well, as I knew they would. So first, welcome to the podcast. And I know I also want to say, Rachel's doing some paint testing in the background. So if you're watching on YouTube, she's trying some swatches out. So let's vote in the comments. Which of these lovely, is it like a burgundy red?
I don't even know what's going on here. I've been doing swatches like all over my wall, like different colors, and I thought I liked it. Then I'm like, I feel like I have a bunch of period stains just smeared all over my wall. It's called terracotta tile. If anyone really cares, this is terracotta tile. This one I was gonna full commit to, but
that's a commitment.
Yeah, we're on the fence.
So yeah, if you're on YouTube, you can vote which swatch. Help her out, because if you've ever tried to pick paint, like it is tough.
It's so subtle. Like it's so nuanced.
And you're like, do I like this shade or that shade? So thank you for joining us with your paint swatches today.
Thank you for having me in all of my imperfections.
And that's really what it is about, right? And I think, you know, is especially in the world that we work is in acne. And I know you've never had acne yourself, but you had your own journey with disordered eating, with weight loss. And I find like weight loss and acne, they're so similar because it really comes down to your appearance and how you feel about yourself and how you show up in the world. So for you, Rachel, you know, how did like going through that health journey while trying to cultivate your mindset kind of mesh together?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I'll first off by saying when I came to speak with your community, or was invited to speak with your community, I was a little nervous because I haven't experienced those challenges, and I don't want to act like, oh, you can just use mindset to snap your fingers and be done with it. I mean, that is true, kind of. It's easier said than done, though. But I don't want to act like I have the solution for something that I haven't experienced it. However, I have found the ties between that and disordered eating, which is what I experienced, to be very similar. And so just a bit of background on that. I had an eating disorder growing up. I had anorexia, which turned into 10 years of disordered eating. So a lot of starting fresh on Monday. Like every birthday wish was like just lose weight, get the thin body. At that time, like it's very much like the Twiggy era, where it was just like cool to be stick thin. And I was just like, this will be my life. Like, I guess I fully just accepted. I was like, I guess women were just meant to hate their bodies and be at war with food their whole life. And then something started to change. So I didn't know it was a mindset switch at the time, but now when I look back, it was a mindset switch, because I was just sharing with you previously that, again, I always had that dream of like to lose the weight, to have a flat stomach. And I was like, when I get there, I will be happy. And the thing is, I never did get there. I never got the flat stomach. I've been every weight from 115 pounds to 210 pounds. I didn't have a flat stomach at any point. I have one of these V bellies. It's always been there.
Which many women can relate to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Many women can relate to that. And I think your story of weight loss, even if women have acne, they can hear those same words, like, I'll be happy when my skin is clear.
Yeah. 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 So I was like, when I get that stomach, when I lose the weight, and it didn't happen. But what did happen is that I did reach a point where I truly first accepted my body and then actually love my body. Like, I love my body now. And I still have challenging body days at times, but it's not the same. And what's interesting is when you don't give it that power, it really is just like, it's so wild. And, but I can still sympathize, because now it's like those things that I used to use my control over food and my body for show up in different ways. Now I tie up my worth in money. And as my business has fluctuated, I've done a lot of changes over the years. I've experienced it in that way. And so I have to remind myself, I'm like, Rach, it's no different. It's the same stuff, no matter what. And I think just once we realize that, it's like, okay, it is realizing it, but it's also, you got to feel it in your body. You can't just feel think it up here, which is why in the coaching calls I do with your community, I was like, guys, we're going to do something a little bit differently. Like, we're going to get into our bodies here. And it's why, even though I'm a mindset coach, a lot of my work is body based, from my dance parties to doing somatic movement and getting into our body, because it's not about solving it up here. It's about feeling that peace and that acceptance in our body.
Absolutely. And now Chris, having worked with so many of the clients, and Chris is really great with mindset, she's really great at catching those words. And, Chris, I'm sure you can relate to a lot of what Rachel is saying from that acne perspective with the clients.
Absolutely. This speaks my love language, actually, everything you're saying, because essentially I always say, and clients come in and they're like, I'm in talk therapy. And I'm like, I love that you're talking it out. Go express everything. I'm like, what do they tell you to do? Right? And they're like, oh, well, they give me suggestions. And then I said, okay. And affirmations. I'm like, and I need to speak kinder to myself. I'm like, and I'm like, have you ever been told just to live in the misery? And they're like, well, what do you mean? And I said, if you wake up and you look in the mirror and you're like, man, I have this big cystic and my face is red and I don't like it today. And tell yourself, I don't like the presence of this acne, but this acne doesn't define me. So I'm just going to live in the fact that I don't like you. I don't like you today. I don't like you showing up. I don't like this. And you know what? You don't define me. So I'm going to carry on with my day. I'm going to check back in with you later. I said, talk to it as if it was like somebody there. Yeah. Right. So that's what I miss with talk therapy, is they're so close, right? Cognitive behavioral therapy, these things. This is why I love mindset, because it goes beyond. Please feel it sometimes, right?
Yeah. I love that you said that. And I'm going to share an exercise that I didn't create, but I've learned from someone and have led people through it. I think that's one of the most powerful things that we can do. We're always so quick to, it's like we're feeling something. And even when we're supporting a friend, we're like, oh, well, it's not that bad. Or in the dating world, let's say, like, oh, like he's like, we're just always trying to save people from the pain, rather than being like, why don't you just be in the pain? Just be in the thick of it. And there's this beautiful, wild, this is going to sound wild, but until you try it, you'll get it. This beautiful exercise to feel our feelings from Mama Gina, who's the author of Pussy. And if you haven't read that book, I know even just hearing that word, you're like, she just said that. You've got to read this book. It is life-changing.
Add to cart.
Add to cart immediately. Add to cart. Yes. Pussy by Mama Gina. Regina Thomas Hauer, I believe is her full name. Anyway, she has this exercise where to help people to really feel and be in she calls it like the rupture, be in the thick of things, where she actually recommends how you're feeling on the inside, on the outside. So the exercise is she's like, if you feel like crap, literally put a garbage bag on your head, cut a hole in it, wear the garbage bag. She says she did this herself. She like put some ash on her face, like from her fireplace, and just acted like garbage. She was like, blah, blah, blah. And it actually makes you feel better. So I led people through this on one of my coaching calls once. I'm like, I know it's going to sound crazy. And people are like, what the hell just happened? That was amazing. Because it just gives us permission to feel the way that we do. It's like when you go to someone and you're like, I'm so scared, and they say, yeah, that must be really scary. They don't try to erase your fear. They don't try to make it go away. They just say it can be here. And that's all emotions are. They just want to be here. They just want to be felt. They just want to be seen and addressed. And then they eventually pass through. But we forget that I forget that still in the moment. I'm like, give me my phone. Let me scroll this away. Let me call up this dude. Like, right? I have to catch myself to be like, just sit in it, Rachel.
And I think it's because in our society, you know, we don't want to feel any pain at all. We're like quick to medicate it. We're quick to do, you know, some people self-medicate with drugs and alcohol, like whatever it may be. That's always that distraction. Some people do it with work. Like that's my coping mechanism because it's so uncomfortable for us to sit through those feelings. And instead what we do is we pack them down. And like I always say, it's in like this little treasure chest that's locked away in a dark corner. But those emotions are going to be eating away at you. Like our emotional state, they're living in our body. They're going to be causing dis-ease within our body if we don't let them out.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
That's the most awkward part too, right? Is we're expected to show up. However, when we understand that that's our expectation we've placed on ourselves, then it's like, hello. I go through bouts of it. Katie goes through bouts of it. Everybody goes through bouts of it. We deal with a lot of people, a lot of energies. I mean, I think I set a bar. I don't know, Katie, what I say. Like, I won't deal with, and I say I won't deal with more than 6 clients a day, because that 7th client is not going to get the same energy as that first client. And that's not something I'm willing to provide to people. I also find vibrationally that drops. Right? I always say, what the heck? I want to increase my vibration. I want to increase my energy, not physical, like energy as I'm like, oh, look at me go run a marathon.
That state of your energy,
the state of my energy, the state and the quality of my mindset. And I often go, why the heck am I here? I know better. I know what to do. Right? So then we talk to people, and this often happens. We talk to people and we go, oh my gosh, and my day, and they want to medicate us through their talk therapy, their interjections. And sometimes I say this to my husband. I looked at him and I said, did I ask for you to solve my problems? And he looks at me and he goes, what? But he cares, right? We forget he cares. So now, starting out like that, I always say to clients, I'm not here to solve your problems. I'm here to gift you the guide and the tools so that you can solve your problems. And not by problems, by that, but that's the words they use, right? The acne is a problem. They not knowing what to eat is a problem. Why? Just like mindset, we have not been trained and taught how to nourish and fuel our body. And that's including self-love. Fair?
Yeah. Like imagine a world where we're taught the power of our thoughts so early on. Imagine a world where we're taught as kids, and even being around people that are mindful that we as kids are forming our subconscious mind from when we're 0 to 7, basically taking in everything around us, making that our understanding of the world, and ending up being how we go about the world as adults. Like right now, we're all just running around as kids, basically, in adult bodies, operating from that kid mind, our subconscious mind, 95% of the time. So if you're confused about why you still think, money doesn't grow on trees, and have all these thoughts that are keeping you in your way, go back to your childhood. Be like, what were your parents saying? What were your surroundings saying? And the good news is that we can change those stories. And again, this is why I didn't realize that my healing my disordered eating was a mindset thing at the time, was because it was essentially repetition. I believe I healed the last of my disordered eating when I became an intuitive eating coach, because I was saying it all the freaking time. And I would say I was like 70% healed when I started teaching that. And then when I was actually in it all the time, it was like, it's just in my brain now that like even things like fat phobic comments, they mean nothing to me because I know the other truth. Like I know another reality. And that comes through repetition from your brain, hearing that over and over and over again.
And I think what's really interesting is someone that I've worked with a lot is Kathleen Cameron. She's a manifestation coach. And she was talking about one of her calls that I really loved is that we give the thought and we give the importance to something Because everything else, it's just neutral. It's a neutral thought. It's a neutral thing. It's a neutral, whatever it is. It's your, your state of mind, and your filter is what gives power to these things. And so, if, when you look in the mirror and you say, oh, I have, I see I have acne today, or, I see that I've maybe gained a few pounds, you get to decide what that comment means. You get to decide if it's going to impact your day, or if you're going to kind of be like, okay, it is what it is, and keep going. Now, it may seem really difficult to do that off the hop. You're like, Katie, what are you talking about? Like, there's no way I'm going to look in the mirror and be like, it's fine, just walk away. But it really is about, cultivating that mindset and realizing that you give the power to the situation.
Yeah. Yeah. And owning it. I think owning it is a big part of accepting it. Like, I think of my body image journey, and I shared the story on Instagram too this week about how I always used to hide my body. Like, I would wear all these like baggy boho clothes, and because I mean, boho was in at the time and there's nothing wrong with it, but I would wear it because I was trying to hide. And I was in Greece recently with my mom and her friends, and this woman comes up to us on the beach and she's selling dresses, and they all go for the boho dresses to like hide. And I'm like, with love, you guys look like potato sacks. I'm like, go put on the tight dresses and own it. Like, yes, you're curvy. Yes, you have fat on your body, but own it. It is so much, not to say to be sexier for other people, but like when we own who we are. Like, I remember the first time I was intimate with someone in my body acceptance era, and I like asked them to squeeze the fat on my body, and I was like, yeah, grab it. And it was game changing because I was just like, I don't have shame, where I'm grabbing it right now and I feel nothing, which is wild. And I do want to emphasize that, like, this is coming from someone that truthfully thought that I would need to be thin and have that flat stomach to feel that way, and to be like, no, I still have fat in my body and I'm okay with it either way. It's just owning it.
It's like that confidence now, right? You feel that confidence in your body, and it's exactly that. You don't need to be rail thin in order to be considered beautiful, in order to, be romantic and do all of these things. And the fact that you were able to, own yourself and say, yeah, I am sexy. It doesn't matter what my weight is. It's so, so powerful.
The other interesting thing too with weight loss too is that I actually started to lose weight once I accepted my body. It's the weirdest thing. It's the weirdest thing, but like people, like my clients would actually like lose weight from eating intuitively, from allowing their body to be the way it is, from allowing themselves to eat whatever they want. And I say that, but there's nuances to that.
Yeah. And it's interesting, right, is when you're not so obsessed over it and you're so focused on it. Do you think it has that psychological component where it's like that manifestation, law of attraction type of vibe, where you're constantly thinking about being overweight or having acne, that you're just going to manifest more of that?
Yeah. Cause that's the other thing. Like our mind doesn't know the difference between when we're saying like, I don't want that. It doesn't hear the negatives, right? So it just hears, I want that. I actually feel like I've been on a streak with that with parking tickets lately. I'm getting parking tickets up the wazoo in Toronto. I feel like they hired like a bunch of new parking people, because I used to park pretty illegally and get away with it. And I'm like, now I park my car, I'm like, hope I don't get a ticket. Hope I don't get a ticket.
Oh my
I keep
gosh.
getting a ticket.
That's me with getting stuck behind extremely slow drivers. Like, not slow, 10 below the speed limit slow.
Yeah.
And I'm like, please don't be today where I get stuck behind another slow person.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. What you focus on grows.
I got to remind myself, we're not going to get stuck behind anyone anymore.
Yeah. Well, no, not even that. No. Because that's the negative.
Don't even think.
You're going to be like, what a great day it is to drive.
What a great day to drive. It's a lovely day.
I love that I can drive my car and go wherever I want right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Change the story.
I know. It's so true, right? It's like you're the one telling your story all the time. And we so often see with our clients that I'm sure you can relate to, Rachel, is the bullying that you do to yourself, right? And I always give this analogy is if, there was a 5 or 6 year old that was really struggling to learn how to read. Would you go up to them and be like, oh my gosh, you can't read that? You're so dumb. Like, you're never going to get this. Give up now. It's just hopeless. How do you think that child would do at reading? Do you think they would succeed at it, or would they heavily, heavily struggle? And then for years down the road, have issues with that reading? And so when I give that analogy, I say, then why are you doing that to yourself? Why are you in your brain all day saying you're ugly, you're never going to clear your skin, it's hopeless, give up, you're not lovable, you're not worthy, you're not sexy, you're not whatever those things are that you're saying to yourself, how do you think you are going to feel? How difficult do you think you're going to make that journey for yourself?
Yeah. Yeah, totally. It's all about the stories that we tell ourselves. And I always give this example too, like, do you ever notice like when you go on vacation, it's like all your problems go away. It's like, oh, I feel good in my body. I feel like everything just like is working better because you're more calm, you're relaxed, your nervous system's in a regulated state.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore you can actually, like, all the things kind of take care of themselves in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And I find like whenever I go on vacation, I come back and like my business is booming and I like haven't touched my work in like 2 weeks. But because I'm in this beautiful energy of just like,
Mhm.
it's good, it's great. Whereas when I'm in my Toronto life, I can get a bit like workhorsey. I can relate to the workaholicness.
Mm-hmm.
Although I want to change that
Push
story too.
away. Change that narrative.
I enjoy my work.
I enjoy my work and all of the freedom it brings me.
There we go. But you have to do that. Like when I'm chatting with friends too, I'll start by saying something. I'm like, no, I don't want to subscribe to that story. Because again, if like even saying I am struggling, that's okay to say. It's okay to be there. Your mind, your body hear that, and they're like, "Oh, we're struggling now. Okay, let's struggle. Let's struggle, and let's bring on more struggle because like attracts like." Whereas again, that whole vacation energy, when you're just like do, like I come back and I'm like fun, flirty, and just like feeling good, and opportunities come my way, and it's just easy. And I try to remind myself of that when I get workhorsey again, because it's like it's just that. So it's just noticing what story are you subscribing to, and a reminder to create the story that serves us. And the other thing to add to that is creating the evidence to support that story.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's much more difficult to look in the mirror and say, I don't like my acne, but I accept it as it is, when your whole social media feed is people with clear skin. You're gonna be like, I don't belong here. So it's like, can you find NYX is a really great brand that does this, where NYX celebrates all diversities of all kind. And, for me, actually, this is a big one with body image, seeing women in bigger, fatter bodies. And I say that word neutrally because it is, but seeing women in bigger, fatter bodies being sexy and me actually being like, wow, they are hot. That changed the game for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the same thing goes for seeing a woman with acne who just owns it, and that you can look at that person and be like, wow, like they are beautiful, to be like, yeah, both can be true. You can have acne and still be and feel beautiful.
Mm-hmm. I know. I think that's important, is both can be true at the same time.
That's it.
You don't need to have just one truth. There can be two things at once.
Yeah.
And I really do admire NYX does that. I know Skims does that. A lot of the brands are doing that, where they're much more body inclusive instead of just having these stick thin models, because that's not the reality for every single woman. Every woman has literally every woman has a different shaped body. There's no two bodies alike. And I think no matter where you are on that gamut, in order, like it's so powerful to be able to own your body, no matter where you are on that spectrum.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
And the same thing goes for acne, right? Oh, sorry, Chris, I cut you off.
No, I was going to say
excited.
it's same for height. Like I'm short, right? And
very.
We moved to the country, and I don't know if people stick their children in horse manure, because these people are tall. And I look at it and I'm so envious. And it's true. I'm like, oh man, if I could just have 3 of those inches, like, ooh, yeah, right? And I look and I'm like, really? Is this something like I desire? When we don't have something, beauty comes in other forms, right? Why? Because what do we get told? What does my family get told? You're short, you're short, you're short, as if it's a bad thing. Right? Yeah, I'm closer to the floor. Don't worry about me, right?
Yeah.
Like the rain's hitting me the last part. You're going to get it first. So you just enjoy yourself. However, I see with the kids, right? They're told they're short, they're short, they're short. And that's still an image. And why does it bug people? I have no idea. But I caught myself and I'm like, So now when I hear people tell my kids are short, and I say, well, collectively, look at their gene pool. Right? And I leave it at that. And they all look at me because they're probably trying to figure out exactly what I'm even saying. But we do it in all shapes and form. And I'm a very logical mindset. Sometimes I have to stop myself being so logical, but I have a business background, kind of happens some days. And if you tell me to do an affirmation, I'm going to be like, Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Because I can logically tell myself that's not correct.
Mm.
And it's really, really quick. So all those different minds, it's not just body shape or size, it's also mind compositions. Everybody has a different composition of how they process.
Yeah.
Right? So I always tell people, your mind is formed just like you said. I said, but the greatest thing is your parents' history is not your future. I also tell my girls, you know what? You don't like the way I parent. You know what is so wonderful? When you have children, you get to do it your way and you get to enhance it because I'm teaching you what I know and you get to do a better version of how you think that should be.
Mm-hmm.
I don't go, oh, I'm a bad parent. No,
Yeah.
because I'm not. I'm doing the best I can. Some days it's hard.
Yeah.
Right. So all of these things, and I'm just trying to speak like to the masses, right? Because it doesn't just have to be a weight. It doesn't just have to be acne. Because people that come in with acne, let me tell you, they're carrying this big baggage with weight, with things like they want to be taller, with things that I'm just trying to get by in my day and that mind composition, right? Like it's a collective. We're a collective of all those.
I think it's also remembering, like to that point, I think once you can look through the lens of your world as if there's not one truth, like many things can be true and
Yeah.
everyone's just projecting their reality, that changes everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's very few universal truths, right? There's many truths about money, there's many truths about beauty, therefore like one thing isn't true. And I think when you start looking at things from that way, like I'm very careful when I've actually stopped taking advice from people unless I truly want their input, because it's just a projection. And if someone asks me for advice, it's just a projection based on my experience. It's not necessarily a universal truth, because there could be something else to be a rebuttal to that or to contrast that. So I think it's really helpful when you're going about the world, when you're being exposed to these stories, being like, well, is that actually one that's going to support me? Is this like a thought and belief that I want to adopt? Or is there another one? And even if it's not true, I always say, be delusional. Choose the story that's going to support you either way, even if it's so outlandish. Because again, the mind is going to hear whatever you tell it. And so it's like, why not tell it a story that's actually going to support it?
Yeah, it's like we get to decide if we're going to accept that as a truth or not. We get to decide if that's going to be something we take on.
Yeah.
And for me, you know, I've really struggled with mental health, like anxiety and depression and stress and burnout and all of these things. And for like the last few years, I've been telling myself that story that I'm always stressed, I'm always overwhelmed, I'm always burnt out, I have horrible anxiety, my depression's really bad. And I say these things over and over. And when I've been starting in the last, like I've been doing manifestation and mindset work for 15 years, and I still kind of like, you know, fell out of the loop and started struggling. And when I really started to say, no, like I'm not going to be telling myself this narrative anymore, because it doesn't serve me. So I'm going to find a new truth. My truth doesn't have to be my mental health is garbage. So now I've been really, really working on reprogramming my brain to like catch myself when those thoughts are forming, or catch myself when I'm about to say to somebody, oh, I'm like, no, that's not going to serve me anymore.
Yeah.
And really working to say, what does serve me now?
Yeah. And also noticing that the brain is wired to look for problems. Evolutionary, like our brain is just there. Like it's not there it's not out to get us. It's just looking for problems. So this is another example. For the past month, for the past 2 years, I'm like, I need a car, a new car. I was driving a car for the past 2 years that was like very much on its last legs. And it was one of those things where, well, I don't know if people experience this, but like when I push to start, I don't know if it's going to start. So I would like go and do a DJ gig and be like, I hope it gets me home. Yeah. And then I actually came home from vacation and I was like moved into a new place, went to go get my parking pass. I get in the car and it won't start. And it was like done this time. So I was like, I got to get a new car. But I've been saying this for years. And then I went through the whole, like, I don't know if anyone's bought a car, but
I just bought a new one.
You did too? Okay.
Yeah.
What'd you get?
My 2011 Prius. She was on her last legs. I had her for 12 years.
Yeah.
And, you know, a Prius doesn't really work well for two boys that play sports and two dogs at all. And it was like on its last life.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting a 2024 Hyundai Santa Fe, and I am obsessed.
I got a Tucson.
You did?
That's hilarious. Yo, Santa Fe's are sick. I was looking at
the
those.
new one. It's the brand new one. So it looks like it has a
It looks like a Range Rover.
Yeah, it looks like a Range Rover.
Yeah.
It looks way more expensive than it is.
Yeah.
And the inside, like I told Kristen and Paige when I got it, I'm like, this car's smarter than I am. And it's a better driver than I am. So it's a really cool high tech car. So going from a Prius to the new Santa Fe was
so funny.
wild.
We both got Hyundais. Let's get a Hyundai sponsorship in here. That's great.
We should.
Yeah. So yeah, I went through the whirlwind of like getting a car, and then I finally got the car last week. And now the new problem I found is, I have a car payment now. Okay. So like, and
I know.
I'm like, Rachel, you have just been like, oh my God, I need a car now, I need a car. And now you have a car that works perfectly. And now you found another problem. So I'm like, I saw my mind go that way. And I was like, stop it, Rachel, stop it. And anyway, there's other learnings that have come from that so far, but the brain's just always looking for problems.
The brain, was my thought is, I'm so used to not having a car payment. Now I have a car payment that I got to be doing any month. And I was like, no, I'm not going to keep focusing on all of these problems because it's so easy for me to snowball everything that's going on. So something that you I forget, I think it was at Jen Pike's workshop mastermind that I first saw you in. Probably.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
And you were talking about self-identity script writing. And this was probably like 3 years ago, like a while ago. And I thought that was the coolest thing. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is something I haven't done yet. And since you've talked about self-identity script writing, I still do it to this day.
Wow.
I still like every day. I just wrote a new script. I'm on day 5 of a new script. And I found that when I'm actually doing it, my mindset is so much better because I had gotten off for probably the last 8 months and my mindset was horrible. But now that I'm doing it every day, and then after I do my script, then I write 3 things I've been grateful for that day and why. And then I write 3 wins that I've had. And I think adding in the 3 wins was so powerful because I was able to see that, my whole day wasn't crap. Like some good things did happen in my day. And and that's not necessarily a big win or a small win. It's just a win. So I think when you really do start to do this work and you're writing the things down and you're pointing the things out that are going well in your life, it's so much easier just to stop the snowballing effect.
Yeah. What you focus on grows, right?
Right.
So sometimes I'll do that too. Like I'll notice myself in like a spiral, and even without writing it down, I'm like, what am I grateful for? I'm like, wow, these trees are beautiful. Wow. Like I'm going to have like, I have this, I love my standing desk. I just moved to this apartment too. So that's why there's a lot of moving things, but I'm like, I'm so grateful to have a home again. I'm so grateful for a car. I love my friends. I have amazing food. And you notice Chris was saying like your vibrational energy change, right? Just by doing that. And for people who aren't familiar with self-identity script writing, essentially in short, what it is it's a manifesto that you write out every single day, in present tense. And the whole idea is tapping into the fact that the subconscious mind can change through repetition. So it's writing down the same thing every single day for either 50 or 100 days to change those thoughts, which in turn change your reality. So
it's powerful.
Very powerful. When I first discovered it through my mindset coach, it like quickly changed my life. Like I like doubled my income that year. I met who I thought was the love of my life at the time. And I don't see that as a failure, but he was the first person I was with where I was like, I'm going to marry this man. And never have been able to say that about anyone. And then I've had over 500 people go through the course, and I still get messages from people being like, whoa, like I got out of debt. I found the love of my life. I found my dream home. It's wild. So thanks so much for that. I'm
obsessed with it. It's truly been a life changer. And I know Paige does it as well. Paige is our COO. Awesome. She does it every morning with her matcha and her dog Nova. And yeah, she does. She's like, I do it every day at 6 a.m. and I absolutely love it. And it's just one point before we move on from this is I thought was really cool is you said, whatever you write, 10x it. Like write down what you think and then you're going to 10x it to the point where you're like, this seems silly. OMG. Like it's all like for me, when I first 10x'd it, I was almost a little embarrassed. I'm like, I hope nobody reads this because this is some big stuff in here. But the more you write it, you're like, damn, like, yeah, like this can happen. This is amazing. And you start to feel those shifts.
You normalize to it too. Yeah. And because that's another thing, like when we're also wishing for all these things and we're also wishing for the dream body or the clear skin, the money, the home, the job, partner, whatever, you've also got to ask yourself, like, are you ready for it? I've had many clients that have come to me who are in the early stages of growing their business, and then they go viral and they get 50,000 followers overnight. And they're like, oh my God, now I'm afraid to post because I'm afraid I'm going to screw it up. And it's like, this is why, like, you gotta be like, this is why our goals aren't here yet, because in the energy world, we actually have to be a match for it. Everything in your life here right now is here because you are a match to it. So even like me getting a new car, there's definitely some like worthiness stuff going on there for me, because I've never had a new car. I've always
Me either.
I've always had a car where I've had to kick it 5 times to make it work. So to be in a car that like vibrates when I go over the line and like works perfectly, I'm like, oh my God, I don't deserve this. So I'm just catching that to be like, okay, I know this is uncomfortable and we're going to normalize to this. So there's this sort of like, I call it baby deer moment when we're up leveling or moving on to this next stage where it's going to feel a little wobbly. I'm noticing it in dating too, like calling it like I used to date all these, I was going to call them losers. They're not losers. They're just weren't enough.
Lessons. You dated lessons.
Yeah.
You dated lessons.
People who were not, I was like, how come my dream man isn't here? And now I've had people come into my life that treat me amazingly, and the same thing's coming up. I'm like wanting to like push it away and go back to this. And I'm like, no, Rachel, like,
it's the upper limit.
Be in this discomfort. It's the upper limit.
It's the upper limit. I know. One of my all-time favorite books is The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks.
I still haven't read that.
OMG, Rachel, you gotta add to cart. I'll add Chrissy to cart. You add Big Leap to cart.
Okay.
Because it's a short read. Like, it's really, really tiny. And I read it like, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago. And it was such a game changer in the way I thought, because I realized that I was upper limiting myself. And essentially, you know, what an upper limit is you've decided in your brain and in your mind that there's like this internal thermostat, and you're only allowed to get to this one spot on the thermostat, and that's what you deserve, and that's what you're comfortable with, and that's, you know, what you're worthy of having. And when you get past that, you know, thermostat number, you start to self-sabotage, because you're like, oh, no, I don't deserve that. I'm not worthy of that. I'm not intelligent enough. I'm not beautiful enough. I'm not. And then you self-sabotage to bring yourself back down into what you feel is a comfortable spot.
Yeah.
And I think that's when you really realize that, you're like, you start catching yourself like, oh, I'm upper limiting. And I say that to myself all the time. You're upper limiting again. You're upper limiting. So really trying to break through that to get to that next level, to change that thermostat.
Yeah. I think what you just said there is normalizing talking to yourself and noticing all these things, because you can know all this stuff. Like for years, I lived and breathed this every single day, especially when I was studying with a coach and in the community. And I still had challenges, and I still have challenges to this day. So the challenges, they don't go away. You just get better at managing them. And it's just getting used to just being aware and calling it out.
And I think something that you had said earlier, Rachel, about, you know, getting nervous that something's going to mess up, right? You're like, oh my gosh, I got this new amazing thing. I hit my goal. I'm going to mess it up. And Chris, we see that with clients all the time where they're like, oh my gosh, I've cleared up my skin. I'm terrified my acne is going to come back. I'm terrified I'm going to eat something that's going to flare my skin. I'm terrified that a year from now, something's going to happen. And we see this all the time.
Yeah.
I often lead with this question to them. And if or when it does, then what?
Yeah.
And I just hold. And they're like, me? Because their brain has to start engaging. Anytime you ask somebody a question or you use their name, including yourselves, right? When you're talking to yourself, you know how you're just like, Rachel, I do it. I'm like, Chris, you know, because it gets the attention. We're so used to be responsive. That's our name. So I push, I should say, listen, I do push the boundaries a little bit with clients, and I will hold that awkward silence, and I will stare in your face and you say, and what happens if it does? And hold. That's not up to me. You already know the answer. And they're like, And then I have to remind them, you spent 6 months inside getting coaching and guidance and a program and love and tenderness, and here's your wins, and this is what you know. Why would that fail you now? Right? And guess what? Life's not perfect. You get acne. Now what? So always going back, I say, I love the word opportunity. It's probably one of my favorite words right now, opportunity. So when someone says to me, well, I'm eating that, and what if I get a breakout, or I'm getting a breakout? And I say, okay, well, where's our opportunities around this? And constantly am I writing out that, and to the point where I will pick up my phone and I start to go say open, write the word open, and opportunities pops up. So even my phone is looking for opportunities.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah.
It's taking those moments and it's like reminding yourself that you have the tools and resources, and it's okay to mess up. Humans aren't perfect. It's about progress, not perfection. And if you do mess up, it's okay. Let's use this as a learning opportunity and use the tools and resources that we already have in place to get back to where we want to be.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that whole sentiment around just seeing everything as an opportunity, because that's all this is. Like, we're like, the problems aren't going to go away. If it's not acne, it's going to be something else.
Mm-hmm.
And I always like to remind myself too that as you claim a goal too, you're going to be led through initiations. It's like, okay, I want this thing, and then I'm going to speak more spiritually. You can buy into it or not, but the universe will lead you through initiations to get you ready for that. So it's like, okay, yeah, I do want to fill stadiums one day and have these like mindset dance parties. And it's like, okay, you're going to say that? Well, first, I posted my reunion dance party in this Facebook community called Toronto Rave Community. And
I'm in that community.
Are you in there? Are you a raver?
I am hardcore.
I didn't know that about you.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh man, I'm sending you a meme. Someone just sent me a meme that said, when you find out your coworker is a raver, and it's like this face.
Oh, that's 100% it. No, and so is Paige as well.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Big into the
I love
when
it.
I was younger, I was big into raves.
Wow.
Like I lived at the government.
Oh my God, I never went. I was a late bloomer to all of
You're a
this.
late bloomer. Oh, it's okay. It was a vibe. It was a vibe.
Wow.
Yeah.
Anyway, I posted my reunion dance parties in Toronto Rave Community this week, and it got torn apart.
No.
Torn apart.
What?
Yeah. I mean, they're whatever, but they're not my audience, blah, blah, blah. I can find all these reasons to defend it, but I'm making a point to go in there when I'm resourced. I did go in there at one point when I wasn't, and it spiraled me. But just seeing that, to be like, okay, there's going to be people that hate on this.
Absolutely.
Building up your capacity for this, because you've got to be ready. There's no way like you can be the star of the show, filling up stadiums, and like not be okay with people talking crap about you, because they will. They will.
That's my issue, right? Chris and Paige can attest to this.
Yeah.
I know Paige isn't here, but I talk like she is. The bigger audience guests, like the majority of our community is so wonderful, and we have great comments and feedback. But for me, being that, the recovering perfectionist, let's say, is when I get that one bad comment, it eats me alive inside. And I have these big, crazy dreams of, I'm like a go big or go home. And I know that the universe has been testing me, being like, okay, well, if you want this big stuff, like you're going to have to get used to this. So I'm going to keep throwing it at you. So we've had posts that have gone viral, and we've gotten like massive hate and like just the meanest things said. And while it was uncomfortable to go through, I look at it as, okay, it's the universe getting me ready to go to that next level.
Yeah.
And what are the opportunities?
And what is the opportunity?
I always laugh. Like Katie will say something like, we've got a lot of lessons in here. We have a lot of opportunities, and this taught us this. So how can we refine? How can we shift? How can we pivot? Right. But it takes a community. Often it's me, Paige, Katie, we're kind of like hanging out, doing these background things where we're collectively taking in all the shit and try to weed through it. Right.
Because it's lessons.
It's lessons. And, Katie might grab me on something, and I'm like, oh, okay. But when you're around those like-minded people, you don't spend too much time in the weeds, because somebody has to grab it, right? Somebody has to sit there and go, are we here? Are we really here? Are we going to miss this opportunity? Because I'm not going to allow this opportunity.
Yeah.
Right. And it kind of goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning of, you get to decide the meaning that you give to that. So for me, I used to look at all these, things that happened, but oh my God, why is this happening to me? This is so awful. And why? And now I look at it as lessons. Like, these were lessons in my life that I needed to learn in order to get to the next level. And one of if I ever got a tattoo, I would get it just to say "for you," because I've really lived by that quote that life happens for you, not to you.
Yeah,
and for me, if you're familiar with my story, that I come from a domestic violence home, and I had a stillborn baby at 5 months, and then we had another pregnancy loss, and these traumas like weighed. To be honest, I'm not fully through them, but weighed so heavily. And when I started changing my perspective of, this didn't happen to me, it happened for me. Yes, it was horrendous and horrible, and there were lessons in that that made me who I am today. So now I'm starting to look back on those, and as awful as they were, I'm starting to almost have a thankfulness to them because of the lessons I got to learn from them. And that's what we now teach to our clients is I absolutely love when we have clients say, Katie, I get what you mean when you said you were thankful for your acne, because I'm thankful for my acne too, because it taught me lessons. And had I not had it staring me in the face every day, I never would have taken on repairing my health and getting my gut in order and repairing my hormones. And now because I've done that, all of these other symptoms are gone and I feel so much better. And I know that I'm reducing my risk of disease later on, and I'm teaching my kids, and I'm able to show up in this more profound way.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful.
Universe is a big deal. And, you know, like you said, Rachel, you can buy it or not. Here's me. Everything we put out comes back. I walk into a room and you're a pissy cat. Guess what? Now I am too. Right? Because that's the transference. Everything, this desk that I'm sitting at looks solid. It's not, it's energy. It had to have been formed from that. So I'm a firm believer in all of the energy and everything. Every time something negative happens, I go to bed and I say to the universe, thank you. Thank you for that opportunity to learn. I didn't like it, and I'm not going to like it right now because it sucks. However, guess what I'm going to do? Tomorrow I'm going to wake up and I'm going to reconsider this, and I'm going to look at it a little bit differently, and I'm going to do this. And I set that, and I sleep like a baby. Before, I used to be up till 3 o'clock in the morning.
Anxiety ridden, yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, like all these wrinkles with my liver from holding in all that crap. You know what I mean? These types of things. We can thank the bad. Like, we forget that. Like, thank you, universe. Yep, that wasn't so fun. And if you have teenagers, let me tell you, I thank the universe a lot. A lot.
Lots of lessons being had at the Craig Brown house right now.
I'm like, universe, I'm just going to let you know. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm just saying, right?
Oh, man. Yeah, like the texture of the word thank you, like, I want to just invite us all to like close our eyes right now and just think of something that maybe is weighing heavy on your heart, and just like saying thank you, and just like feeling that. I was doing that as you were saying that, Chris. I was like thinking of something that's bogging me down, and I was like, yeah, thank you. And I was like, wow, like that changed my energy a bit. So it's just like, yeah, how can we approach that with gratitude, remembering why we're thinking with gratitude? Because like you with your acne, same with my disorder eating, I would not be the person I am today without that. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Body challenges. Thank you.
I know. And and for people that are listening and maybe they're new to mindset, new to manifestation, and they're like, this all sounds amazing, Rachel, Chris, and Katie, love it all, but where do I start? Like, where do I even begin? So, Rachel, if there are those people listening that, you know, don't know where to start, what would you suggest?
I probably had an answer to this like years ago, and I feel like it changes every day. I think what's coming through right now is probably the garbage bag analogy. Like, you don't have to start with the garbage bag. I think that's pretty. It's like maybe like level 5.
Yeah. Maybe a little intermediate.
Yeah, but just like first experiment or consider with, yes, recognizing that all your thoughts and beliefs aren't real, just that awareness. And second, like, what if you just sat with it? Like, let yourself be in the pain or the sadness or the grief of, I don't like my skin, or I don't like my body, or whatever that is. And what that might look like is, when you notice that feeling coming up, feeling where it is in your body. So maybe you feel it in your stomach, maybe you feel it in your throat, breathing into that and talking to it. So first, like, I like to describe it to invite ourselves to be with it longer. So what does it look like? What sound would it make if it could make a sound? What color is it? Okay. And just saying, I say to myself, like, okay, you can be here. You can be here. What do you want to say? And just inviting ourselves to be with it first and foremost. I think that's the first thing I would say with mindset, which again, so much of mindset is not about just choosing the new thought, but just first being with whatever's creating that thought, because our thoughts do create feelings. So you can't have a feeling without a thought. So that's it. That's the first one. And just also, when you're moving through emotions, this is the stuff that we do on the call, but letting yourself process it through. So kind of like a bear after it's been in a fight, it has to shake. Like when I'm feeling those things, I was processing something this morning and I could feel it in my throat. I just went, ah, and just letting it out, letting it all be there.
Yeah, I think that's really profound as well, is that we forget that all of this is energy in our body, right? Like it's just energy in our body, and we physically sometimes have to shake it off. And I really love that, you know, somatic work, like the shaking of the body, the movement, the release of the energy, because that's all it is. And if we just swallow it down, it's just staying stuck in our body. Like we really do need to let it out in order to process it. And for me, the other day I was having a really stressful day, and I could feel I could feel it all bottling up. And I did exactly that. Like I just screamed it out, and I felt 100 times better after. I was like, oh, okay. It was just stuck energy. We're fine now, everybody. Let's continue on with our day.
Yes.
Also understanding that not all of the energy we're processing is ours.
Preach.
When I work with a lot of clients, there's sometimes I have this voodoo thing I do. I don't even know, Rachel. I can't explain it. I don't know. Universe comes in. All of a sudden I'm relaying stuff, and I'm like, and she
gets heartburn.
I get heartburn. Severe heartburn. And I'm like, I have to stop the call for a second. What's going on with this, and this, right? And they're like, and I throw them for a loop. I throw myself, and if I don't say it, I get heartburn. And I'm like, I'm not willing to. I used to just absorb the heartburn. Now I'm like, no, man, I'm not doing that.
You're channeling.
And I say things to them, and I'm like, hey, listen, I just want to let you know, with love and compassion, I'm sending all of this energy back to you because it's not mine for processing. It doesn't, one, me no good. And two, it's your energy so that you can learn, you can find those opportunities. And I love what you say. I would say, let's find the triggers. Let's find the triggers to the energy shifts. When your mind or your energy goes this way, what's that trigger? Was it a person? Was it a place? Write it down, start capturing it, because then that work starts, right?
Yeah.
However, always do this. I do this to my 12-year-old. Go into a room because she's very empathetic. Look around. If this isn't your energy, quietly in your head, with love and compassion, don't be a jerk, right? Send it back. And if she's shifted quite a bit that way, right? Like, how do you explain that to a 12-year-old? No, you're not loopy. You just feel other people's stuff.
You just got other people's energy.
Right?
That's so true, right? Is you can absorb people's energy, especially in a coaching capacity, Rachel. I'm sure you know this as well. Is that you're in some deep emotions with people, and it's so easy, even virtually, to draw that into you.
Yeah, and also like generationally, like
right.
I've still got like my Bubba, my grandma's like some scarcity stuff flowing through me, and I'm like, what? Like I've done like plant medicine ceremonies over this. I'm like,
get it out.
Take it back. I don't want it. Take your shit.
Take it back.
And I accept you, but like take it back.
So are you Ukrainian then?
I'm Ukrainian, yeah.
So am I.
Wow. Rave sister and Yuki.
Yeah, look at us.
Wow.
I was like, I had a Baba.
Wow.
So funny.
Cool.
But that's it, right? Is like we could do a whole nother podcast on generational trauma and generational stuff. Like that's a whole topic in itself. Yeah. So one thing that I do really like to do now that my therapist taught me was, because I talked about how I just have people's energy, is now when I'm in the shower or I'm washing my hands, I picture that energy washing down into the drain, right? Like it's washing off of my body in the water, out the drain, and there we go. Yeah, I like that one. Yeah,
that's cool. Good. I do that with light and color. I'll bring in, I'll say, like you said, with the throat or something, congestion or my heartburn, I will bring in or channel in that white light. And I'll just, because it's pure, right? We think white and pure. That's why you wear white on your wedding day, these types of things. And I will circle it around that organ that feels really discontented. And then I exhale. And sometimes I see gray. And I'm like, oh yeah, there you go.
There it goes.
And sometimes I'm like, are you just making this up? And I'm like, who cares? Who cares if I am?
Who cares?
Who cares if I am? Because that's me telling myself you're making it up. No, stop, right? Yeah, I love it. I love mindset. Like that's,
I know.
Honestly,
it's so
like,
powerful. I know. Well, like Rachel, this was so amazing. Like I said, I was counting down the days and seconds to this chat. And you've just been such a pleasure to have in our community and with our clients. Like I said, they all absolutely love you. So for people that want to like delve into your world and all things Rachel Molenda, where can they find you? Because they can find you online. And guess what, everybody? She's also in real life.
Hell yeah.
It exists still.
Yes. Yeah. I'm actually moving. Most of my work is in person now. So you can find me online at Rachel M. Molenda on Instagram. And then my website is rachelmmolenda.com. And then I've also started what's called the Reunion Dance Party, which is a all women's alcohol-free dance party. And
Amazing.
It's also kind of like in turn like a mindset part. Once you go, you'll get it. And I was going to say, Kate joined us last week from London, which was so
yeah,
awesome.
One of our team members, Caitlin, our an amazing virtual assistant. She's like, I went to Rachel's reunion dance party and it was amazing.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so I mean, that was kind of a shift in, yes, we can talk about these things, but so much happens when we are in our bodies. And I'm kind of in this like play is the way mentality right now, where so much healing can happen when we allow ourselves to have fun, and in turn that gives us the that internal fire to do the damn thing after. So if you want to learn about that, that's the Reunion Dance Party on Instagram and thereuniondanceparty.com.
I definitely want to come. It's totally up my alley. I would totally love that. And I love that you call yourself like if Diplo and Tony Robbins had a baby.
Yeah, honestly, once I put that in my Instagram bio, I was like, I get myself now. Like, because for so long,
so good.
Yeah,
that's it.
That is it.
And like, what a perfect combo, Diplo and Tony Robbins.
It is, although both don't have the best reputation in the world right now. Like, some people don't love Diplo and some people don't love Tony Robbins, but I'm like, people know who they are. So.
People get the idea of what I'm trying to say here.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing. Well, Rachel, thank you so much. Everybody check the show notes because I have all the links to Rachel's Instagram, the Reunion Dance Party. Highly recommend. Go hang with her on the socials and in real life because yes, it exists. And we'll see you guys next week on the Clear Skin Chronicles.
Thanks for hanging out with us this week on the Clear Skin Chronicles. We'll see you next Wednesday with a brand new episode. Remember to subscribe to the show and drop us a review. Sending glowing vibes your way, Katie and Chris.